Hey everyone, I'm Samantha Richards and I'm the founder of Building Voices Public Speaking, and I'm a motivational and inspirational public speaker.
And I'm here on your couch. My name is Steph Chat. I'm the voice of Chemist Warehouse Remix on air and all across the stores in Australia.
What we wanted to chat about today, what is it that holds us back from taking a leap of faith and trusting ourselves? It's a really tough decision to make when you want to make a change. I know you've made some huge changes recently, but you've been making those changes over a period of time. I'm actually 51 years old and I took a leap of faith in my late 40s. In your 40s, people start telling you that you can't get a job. And I found that really, really challenging. And I went for I applied for 65 jobs. I went for a lot of interviews and got to the second round. And invariably I was told that I'd be bored and I'd leave and I wouldn't get the job. Now I've worked in the British High Commission in Nigeria. I've worked for Lehman Brothers in London prior to the crash, of course. I've worked for most financial institutions, private equity, and I just struggled to get a job and I got depression. So I needed to get help to be able to look for what I could do, what I was good at. And I'd moved countries, 6 countries in total. When you're a gypsy in that way, it's really hard to find a base. It's really hard to find friends that you will keep in your life. And for me, I struggled to read and write English because I was evacuated from Iran as a little girl back to England at the age of 10. And when you put into a school, can't read or write, you're picked on a little bit. So I really, really fell through the gaps. And eventually, in my late 40s, or early 40s, but then by the time I transitioned to what I'm doing now, I'd gone and got the help. And I found out what I was good at. I went and got some training into being a communication, to how to be a good communicator, and I started competing and I started winning, shock horror. And people were coming up asking for help, and that's how I moved into it. And now I give other people the opportunity to find out what they're good at based on communication, how they communicate, by helping them to become better communicators. So for me, it was a really important thing to do and to address the issues that I needed help with, and that takes a lot of courage to do that. It took a lot of self-belief, but I had to go through a lot of things to get there.
Well, I think similar for me in the sense of self-belief, and I know I introduced myself at the start as a presenter, and you know, it's not just the radio presenting that I've done, it's on stage and red carpets and interviews and TV shows and all that sort of stuff. But the person I wanted to come to you today was just me as a human being, and the person who didn't believe in themselves, the person who relied on everybody around me but myself, and the person who was bullied. There's just so many people that I think I've had to overcome to get to this point. And it's funny because in life your story changes.
It's true.
And in my first story that I used to tell was that I invested all my money into a radio course because I had tried to be a singer. And by tried, I mean, you know, I had mum help me because there were many people around that said that they were going to help me, and it just never eventuated. But it's a realization that I had to come to of, was it them that weren't helping me, or was it me that wasn't helping me? And that's where I'm at today. And the first huge leap of faith that I took, or the last one before this one, was investing all my money into a radio course, putting everything into that as a last chance, and then that leading me into commercial radio, where I finally got paid for something. And that was really amazing. I was like, I can't believe that I'm getting paid for this, right? Because in the entertainment industry, you do so much for free. You know, as you know, your son is in the entertainment industry and he did The Voice, and you know, how much did he get paid to be?
Almost nothing.
Yeah, but how much did you have to pay for him to?
I paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And I was running my business at the same time, and that had to go on hold. I had to get other people to come in and coach for me. And that took a massive toll. Not, when I say massive, I talk about my parents of the kids that I coach, we want you. They're used to my style of coaching. I'm a bit of a clown and a big kid, because I'm a great firm believer that actually inside all of us adults is a kid. And sometimes when, as an adult, our life experiences, as you would have found, with the self-confidence, with the bullying that you've had to put up with, and the lack of support in times, that little person inside you, you become serious. And you're trying to make things work. You're just plowing on, and sometimes we just exist rather than live.
That's right.
And I found that when I eventually reconnected with little Sam inside, I stopped simply existing. I let them let me out, and it made me a good coach, because it meant that I could actually connect and identify with the children and connect and identify with the adults, because even inside you, Steph, is a little girl that's incredibly playful.
Yes.
But it was, how do you take that step and that leap of faith? Same as I did when I decided that actually no more. I wasn't going to be depressed anymore. I wasn't going to just hunt for a job. I was going to make my future happen. And I have, and even with COVID, I lost 75% of my business. Still don't know what's going to be happening in the future, because we're just been given some restrictions have been lessened. But I'm going with the flow. I don't see any of it as failure, because just like Thomas Edison once said, who invented the light bulb, I haven't failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work. And in that, he then found the one way, which has created the light bulb that we all have now. I personally think, Steph, every single person has this wonderful little bright spark that spark of life that lies within each of us. And it's sometimes dulled by experiences.
Definitely.
When you've had that, our experiences hold us back. When my first baby died, she was stillborn, my spark went out, because that on top of everything else, and eventually that spark comes back.
But you know, and that's the thing, it's such a journey and a look within your own self. You know, these are things, the whole relying on myself. This is only something that I had a conversation with myself in the shower this morning. So, you know, I think every day we are still learning, and that investment in that course was a big leap of faith, which led to a success story, which I spoke about. But then the next one during this COVID time, again, I kept going on that reliant thing, because everything that I've done, I have done it for something. I present for someone. I coach for someone. It's never for me, nothing. And that's why I really appreciate chats like this and the podcast that I do. This time I had to take a leap of faith and say, you know what? It is time that I invest in me. And not just financially, because I've done it before. I invested in me in doing a course or doing this. I am believing in myself. And we're never saying that things are going to fail, but even if things go this way or this way, I'm just going to go with it, because I believe that this is where I want to go. I want to trust myself.
And where is this for you?
Experimenting in my own self, experimenting in so many avenues. I can't even, it's a bit scattered at the moment, because I'm still going through this journey. So it's just a really freeing and peaceful place, and it feels right, and it feels good. And it doesn't feel like noise, and it doesn't feel like I have to speak to 1 million people. It feels real.
So would you say that, because even in COVID, where it's really hard, so many people have been affected by COVID in really negative ways, some people in positive ways, too many people have lost their lives, too many people lost their job. People have been otherwise, health-wise affected.
Yes.
Outside of that, the connection, mental health issues.
Yes.
But during that time, you also took another leap of faith, because you made a huge decision to leave something behind that you'd been doing. So tell us what happened there for you.
I think it was a real lead up. This COVID was the opportunity, but the opportunity came with a real battle within myself, a real battle. And it was, and I'm so grateful and lucky to have people like yourself in my life, because I would call you and say, I don't know what to do, I don't know what's right, because I guess taking a huge step like that, you know, being somewhere for such a long time and having that, I guess, pull, it's not like cutting a string, it's like cutting metal. And it was just this ongoing process of me having a lot of battle in my head. And you know what? It isn't easy to take that leap of faith, because I had sleepless nights. And even after I took that step, I got ill because it was that emotion that came out. So I think the final straw was just to say, I'm going to do this for me, because I want to rely on myself. I want to trust myself. I want to keep my promises to myself. Finally, after all these years of being a performer, after all these years of performing for an opportunity, performing for a round of applause, performing, exhausted.
You must have felt like a performing circus animal.
Yeah,
at times.
Definitely. It was a moment of peace.
And for you, from what I reckon worked out, you had so much more to offer than what you were putting already out there. And you knew it, but you didn't have that self-belief to say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make it work.
Yeah. And that's why it was that ongoing journey that led me finally to that decision. It wasn't just something that I was thinking about overnight. And we're always learning and we're always growing within ourselves.
Yeah.
But I think things lead to somewhere. And, you know, for you that wants to make that change, think about the lead up to that. Where were those conversations before? What are you learning about yourself? And when it comes to that, you know, what is the actual decision you need to make? It's kind of looking back and thinking, because it feels now, as you're saying that, it feels like it was supposed to happen because of the lead up of the growth that I had to go through within myself and have those conversations with you. Because massive, I just sort of think back on them now, they were really massive conversations and it all led to this point.
So when we were talking, I would just simply ask questions and Steph would evaluate those questions and what was holding her back, because I had to go through all that exactly the same thing. When I got the help that I needed because of my depression, the death of my daughter, the constant moving around countries, the lack of confidence that I had from job rejections, I found that when I asked, what's holding you back? And it was lack of self-belief. Knowing I had more to offer, but didn't quite know what it was. But then discovering what my value to society was, which is my ability to bring out better communication techniques in the people that I coach. Even with you, when I asked the questions, and when you had that moment where you went, man, and your eyes lit up. And you're one of the most positive people I know. But when I saw your eyes light up, it was the positivity went through the stratosphere. It was unbelievable. You know?
And that's why it's just so important about who you surround yourself with. That's a really important question to ask, because I got the advice from yourself. You could have led me the other way, and I might not have taken that lead, because sometimes we need to hear it from the people that we love and people around us that this is the right decision. So the closest people can hold you back.
Yes.
So that was, those conversations were so important, because that was a positive influence, because they can really lift you up.
Absolutely.
Or do the opposite.
You know what? The people that you surround yourself with are, they say you can't choose your family, you can certainly choose your friends, but I've actually got friends who I would classify as family now. And whenever I chat with them, whenever we're having these moments, I always actually don't think it's not about me. It's about them. Remember Nina?
Yes.
Nina's a good friend of mine, and we're talking about huge leaps of faith here. What held her back? She is 52 years old now, and it was last year when she had a really rough time. She had been in a job that she was desperately unhappy in and wasn't enjoying it, and there was some issues happening there. And she didn't want to be there anymore, but she didn't know how to do it. She's a single mum with a mortgage, felt tied to a role that she cried in daily. She had lost her confidence, and eventually we did quite a bit of work on building up her confidence. And she would call me up and she said, I just don't know what to do. I don't want to be here anymore. And we talked about it. I said, let's have a look at your resume. And we revamped her resume. It was a 6-page resume, which I can tell you this, no one wants to read a 6-page resume of repetitive stuff. So I whittled that down, restructured her resume to a 2-page resume, which managers would want to look at. She then said to me, we talked about, because it got so bad in the job, she had no job to go to. She took a leap of faith. She resigned. And during that period, that finishing her resignation period, she went for some jobs. And in 1 week, went for the jobs. Within 48 hours, Thursday and Friday, she was offered 4 jobs. We'd worked on her interview technique, because when people lose confidence, they struggle with the way that they're responding to something. They don't necessarily think before they speak, and there are certain techniques that you can use in an interview to be able to give yourself that moment to be able to answer in the right way. So she got offered the 4 jobs, took a job, which was fantastic, and then COVID happened. She was let go. Her fortitude meant that within a month of it being let go, she managed to land a job with Centrelink.
Wow.
So she continued, she kept putting her back out into society. Centrelink noticed what she was doing, and they contacted her. Because she'd already had experience from many years ago of working for Centrelink. She put it out there. And I want to say the universe gave back, but actually she gave back to herself.
Yes.
Because she put it out there. She helped her local community. They saw the benefit of it. And she's a true believer, self-believer. We did some work, but it had to come from her. All I can do is say, here you go, this is what we can do. But you have to do the work, and she did, and she went and she got those jobs. From having, and she was 51 when she got offered those 4 jobs. That's unheard of. I'm tempted to see what would happen if I went out there without that offer. What do you reckon? And then at 52, another job.
As you were saying about working on yourself, the other thing for me is that I'm a very spontaneous and very improvisational. You know, that's definitely a talent of, being able to just switch on and do it. However, it only gets you so far in life. And that's what I've realized, that yes, I kept relying on that as well, and relying on the fact that I could just do it and that I didn't have to try. However, it wasn't until I started having these conversations and I had to change the way I had to think about different things, like changing the way I looked to be taken more seriously, changing the way I said things, because I'm a very conversational person. So sometimes what I say is very like and you know, all over the place. But when you want to have a serious conversation, that language has to change, and I didn't know that. So it's been an interesting journey, learning to explore those things, and also, you know, even being in a new relationship that is a grown-up one, and the one that I want to be in for the rest of my life. It's not about the improvisation that I was so used to hanging on to. It's about saying, oh wow, I'm thinking about the two of us now. I'm thinking about what's ahead.
Yeah.
And I think that helped me as well make that decision that I made not long ago, because I'm not the kid or young 20-year-old that just goes with the flow. Now I'm the just turned 30-year-old that is thinking ahead and thinking about, what future do I want for myself? What does my day look like? What do I wake up feeling? And those are the other things that I really considered taking this leap of faith.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you think about what you're doing now and you imagine that in your head in the future and go, is this who I want to be? Is this the money I want to make? Is this the relationship? It's all these things. And it's about going, okay, let's put this together and let's see what this looks like moving forward, and living in that. I always live in the present, but I am looking ahead now. And not to say that I'm not open to change, because I very, very much am, because we don't know when things are going to change.
No, that's right.
We didn't know that COVID was going to hit us. But now it's about going, well, I have a plan. I'm going this way. I've made a decision. Whatever happens is fine, but at least I have a lot more clarity. So when people meet me now, I'm not all over the place, which I have been perceived as before. Very bubbly, very, you know, but a little bit,
Airy-fairy?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
You know, even when I used to go to, I had a meeting with a huge music producer back then. He would say, what do you want to do? And I couldn't answer that question. I like a bit of this, I like a bit of that, I like a bit of this. And it was about really honing in and going, okay, what is it? And the first one was radio, when I was like, okay, it's radio. And then it's changed over time, but now it's me.
But you're still going to stick with radio. All of this
absolutely,
exploration that you're
absolutely.
doing, you still have a love of all of that.
Oh, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
It's more about you moving in a direction where you feel that not only are you giving more value to people, but you're giving value to yourself.
Yes.
Because we can all change our careers, but if we go into a direction just for the buck, which is always lovely. Don't get me wrong, I like a buck as much as the next person. But then if you do it against what your values are, and that's one of the things which I had to learn, is I'm not chasing money. I'm chasing a quality of life that sits within my value system. And I think COVID has really highlighted this for me recently, given that I have lived in countries like Africa and Iran and Malta and Cyprus and all of these other countries. Certainly in Africa, mortality is really high. I've seen my fair share of death. But COVID has highlighted to me the fragility of life.
Yeah.
And what I have come out of COVID with is, apart from the fact I'm writing my novel, let's see how that goes.
Watch this space.
Watch this space. It was sitting in the back of my mind for years. Always had an excuse, don't have time. But the other thing that's come out of this for me is I'm not prepared to compromise my values for the quick buck.
Yes.
Because when my time comes, I want to go knowing that my regrets are limited, but also that I have done what's right by my values.
Yeah.
it's too short. Too many people have lost loved ones too early. And I don't want to be that person who I was constantly chasing the money. I want to be surrounded by beautiful people who we offer each other incredible value, who are supportive. And when COVID happened, I lost my business. I had to get up online. I actually thought it was 48 hours. It was 24 hours. But I was surrounded by people like Steph, who also does some coaching for me too. And also another girl called Steph Chat, who's rocking Rose IT, brilliant. And she helped me. She did all the back end stuff, but also did the troubleshooting to be able to help me out, because that's the beauty of when you build up a really strong relationship.
Yeah.
But at the same time, later on, or I've done stuff with you, it all balances out.
Yeah, it does.
When you surround yourself by people that are good people, it's people that have the similar value to you. And even if you don't have similar values, one of the beautiful things about being you and having these wonderful conversations, even if we agree to disagree sometimes, is it's about getting different perspectives.
Just to add to your conversation about value, just even in myself, is this what I want for myself? Do I agree? Do I align myself here? And it's answering those really important questions moving forward. Or it's not the right thing anymore. That's all.
Yeah.
And you just look at yourself as, like Pokemon when they evolve. That's where I feel like I'm at. It's not about that they're wrong, because I'm never ever criticize or blame. It's about looking at yourself and going, it's not that, it's just that I'm changing. And that's okay.
And in that change, as you're making those changes, there's a sense of freedom. One of the greatest gifts I offered myself when I allowed myself to investigate who I was and what my skill sets were, was a level of freedom that I'd never had before. But the level of fear that I have has actually gone. I see risk as, what's the worst that could have happened outside of obviously losing your life? With COVID for us, we would have had to have sold our house. I've lived in so many countries, I know how to start again. So taking away the fear that this will create an issue here. If you have health, and I get it, there are a lot of people that have issues in their lives where they're perhaps not as healthy as they could be, and for those people, this would be a really tough one to address. But if you do have health, invariably we can start again. I've started again in many countries. I've left books behind, come with a suitcase, and that's all, and a set of skills, and try to make things work. Biggest challenge was to create a brand new career change. From what I understood, what I knew, how to do it, and I was good at it. But then I was able to apply all of that to running my business and having a lovely strong foundation, which hasn't crumbled. But then I am a service provider rather than a product provider. And that's a really different thing, because I was able to take it online, which was a great thing to do. But in that, not having that fear of self-investigation, there's a level of freedom.
Definitely.
Which you don't have otherwise.
And if I could get anything out of this time, it would be, it's not a time of failure, it's a time of adapting to a change, and what change you're going to make for yourself.
Whatever's holding you back, really do have a think about, if you continue being where you are right now, what is the outcome going to be? Are you going to just stay here? Or are you going to take a step back? Or will you take that risk? Because sometimes risks that we take, certainly when we're wanting to change and improve our lives and grow, they can be really worth it for that emotional stability, that mental stability, that freedom that you have to know that once you've taken one risk, all the other risks don't seem so frightening. And I'm not talking about shoving your hand into a pit of vipers, because that would just be stupid.
Definitely.
We're talking about other risks.
Absolutely. And ask yourselves those really important questions as well.
Guys, you can always get in touch with me at Samantha_Richards at buildingvoices.com.au, or you can contact Steph.
Yep. On my own Facebook, just my name, Steph Halamataris, and on Instagram as well. I like to put out a bit of content as well for your day and to kind of get you pepped up, and you can see what I do behind the scenes as well, just everything. So hopefully we can all connect and create a really cool community, and it'd be good to see if you took this on board, and we'd love to hear your feedback and your stories as well. So
Definitely love to hear your stories.
Yes, absolutely.
And even if you're on that precipice of wanting to take that step, but you're going, whoa, hang on, get in touch.
Yeah.
Get in touch. So it's been fabulous chatting with you. Fabulous chatting with you.
Fabulous chatting with you. We're going to continue our coffee.
And we will continue our coffee.
See you soon.
See you next time. Bye.